Almost two-thirds of all the cases featured on Crimewatch are eventually solved. That is, they result in convictions, often because of crucial clues supplied by Crimewatch viewers. But the outcome of appeals is highly unpredictable and just occasionally perverse. In one case, one of murder, a viewer gave information that turned out to have quite unexpected consequences. More by accident of chance than by design, the call helped lead police towards the killer.
In fiction, murder stories have a gripping opening. In real life, they're rather more mundane. Geoffrey Bixley stopped on his journey through the Ashdown Forest to relieve himself behind the trees.
Morning, can I help you? Morning. Just been out for a ride on my motorbike, and I was going through the forest and pulled into this lay-by, and there was a very strange smell. There was something wrapped in curtaining, something like that. You know, so. Okay, well, show me on the map where it is.
November 491 to KB. November 491 to KB. Can I have scenes of crime and CID and possibly the DI to Pippingford Strait in the lay-by opposite Pippingford Place? I've got something that they ought perhaps have a look at.
At first we thought it was the remains of an animal because there were such small pieces. But it obviously later came out that it was in fact a body. The first thing we had to do really was to identify the body. That's the most important thing. With most murders, you find that the deceased is known, and that in turn leads possibly to the offender and certainly to witnesses.
Nearly half a square mile of forest was subjected to an intensive search, and the gruesome contents of the curtains were gathered up by Dr. Michael Heath.
At Queen Victoria Mortuary, examination of these remains caused a number of problems because the remains have been severely mutilated. The head had been removed, as had the upper limbs and the limbs below the knees.
So back at the lay-by, the scenes of crime officers faced the unpleasant prospect that they might well find other bits of human body.
The cause of death was multiple cuts to the neck, which were consistent with having been caused by a sharp cutting instrument, such as a knife. And further examination revealed that these injuries were inflicted during life. Also, on examination, I showed that she had also been separately stabbed.
She certainly had given birth to a child, and that she had an episiotomy scar. She was blood group O. Now, he told us quite a lot. But if you imagine the vast enormity of the inquiry, I mean, a lot of people fit that description.
So, how do you trace a murderer when you can't identify the victim? The only obvious answer was to find who dumped the body.
I saw a three-wheeled vehicle parked in the lay-by.
One witness thought she'd seen a three-wheel car parked in the lay-by with three men lifting something heavy from the back. It was the strongest lead they had. While some staff gathered and logged information on missing persons, part of the incident room was detailed to list every owner of three-wheeler cars in Sussex and across the county line to Surrey.
Good afternoon.
afternoon, sir. We're CRD officers from East Grinstead Police Station. We're carrying out an investigation as occurred down at Ashdown Forest involving a three-wheeler motor vehicle. Is that your vehicle there?
It is, yes.
Do you mind if we have a quick look at it?
Certainly.
The difficulty with these types of inquiries, unfortunately, is they are time-consuming, and it's very much down to the instincts of the officer doing the interview as to whether he thinks the person is sort of answering truthfully. We take on all these inquiries. I mean, after all, we are asking the public to come forward and give us information, so it's only right that we should follow up all that they tell us. But it's very much, I'm afraid, like, you know, looking for the needle in the haystack.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm PC Philpott, Crawley Police. We're just doing house-to-house inquiries.
Hello, I'm WPC Lawrence from Crawley.
In the course of the investigation, 150 missing women were either found or eliminated from the inquiry, since their age or height or blood group didn't match. That left 5 women reported missing who could have been the victim, and one in particular seemed promising. She'd vanished from a women's refuge in Portsmouth.
We knew that she'd got quite a number of tattoos on her body. Now, we felt this may have been a reason why the body that we'd got was cut up. In fact, at the end of the day, we took that inquiry as far as we could. We never did find her.
Employers were asked if staff had disappeared, and every milkman and postman in the county found a letter in their pay packet asking if they'd noticed anyone who'd gone missing on their rounds.
We'd had numerous good leads that had come in, but unfortunately most of those fizzled out. And you can imagine by this time the team were really getting frustrated. Morale was a bit low. We'd got other incidents going on. There was another incident room, murder incident room at Crawley, which of course had cut the staff down. And so there were difficulties.
Brian Grove settled on a final flourish of publicity. TV shops were asked to show a police appeal as their demonstration tape. And 2 weeks into the inquiry, he turned to Crimewatch.
That you may be able to help us identify the victim or her killer if you recognise the materials which were used to wrap her. First, these curtains. One's a floral pattern and the other's blue acrylic. If you look here, you can see that somebody once took up the hem by hand. They're quite...
One viewer was convinced she recognised those curtains, and indeed they could have matched the windows hers were made for. Her call was to transform the course of the inquiry.
She recalled that she'd sold some curtains, like the ones we were showing. The curtains she'd had to alter for her son's flat. And of course the ones we'd got had been altered. But she'd sold these at a Crawley boot sale. This, from my point of view, was important because what it did at that time, as I said, morale had been low, forces were depleted, they were on other jobs, and really I was looking towards either extending the inquiry nationally or closing down altogether. Now, this immediately gave me heart. I mean, I felt we were very close to something.
He was right, but only because of a remarkable coincidence. The focus of the inquiry switched to Crawley, where the boot sale had taken place. Officers were drafted in, there were posters, and to local people, it seemed police were everywhere. One Crawley resident reacted by seeing his solicitor.
Take a letter, please, to Crawley Police Station. We act for Mr. Kassem Lachal of Greenwich Close, Broadfield, Crawley, who has recently been released from Ford Open Prison on parole. Mr. Lachal lives at the above address with his wife and children. And there is another wife who he married in Morocco and who he regards as a common law wife in this country. Her name is Latifa Lazar, Lazar, and until recently she was living at Ramsey Court, Broadfield, with her son, who is the son of another man.
Come in. Hello, Governor. I've got a letter from firm of solicitors. Breakthrough we've been waiting for, I reckon. Missing woman, missing since mid-August. Moroccan. Supposed to have returned to Morocco, never been seen since.
Certainly looks good, doesn't it? Has she got any previous at all? Have we done so?
Yeah. She's got a con for shoplifting.
What's her height?
5'3". Everything fits.
There's a chance she might have an immigration file.
Yeah.
So we'll check with immigration, see what they've got.
Right.
The other thing is I see she's got a local address. Looks as if she's been here for some little time, so she may have a local doctor, so
Right.
GP. We ought to try the local hospital, because I suppose she's got a son.
Yeah.
That would
Hospital,
fit him.
GP and immigration, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the important thing is, I mean, don't want
Looks
to play
good.
it down. Looks good. I mean, it's just what we've been after. I think, though, we must keep our feet firmly on the ground. We've had these sort of leads before.
Latifa was 26 when she vanished. She'd come to Britain with her first husband, but had been divorced. 5 years later, she married Hassam Lashal, but since he was already married, the wedding took place in Morocco, where polygamy is legal. She kept her own house nearby in Crawley, but the two wives had lived together while Hassam had been in prison for smuggling cannabis.
Mr. Lachelle?
Yes?
I'm DC Air. This is WDC Fitzgerald, both from Crawley Police Station. It's about your wife, Latifa.
Ah.
Can we come in, please?
Come in.
Thank you.
Sit down, sit down.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Hello?
Hello.
أنا بقول جاي أشوف على بالك.
Mr. Lacar, we've come here today to talk to you about Latifa, who you reported missing to your solicitor. As with all missing persons, we have to fill in a missing person report. So could you just give me her full name, please?
الأزهر لطيفة.
Could you spell that for me?
LAZAAR.
Latifa.
لطيفة.
Thank you. Do you know her date of birth?
18 of August 1960.
Where was she born?
Morocco.
And when did you last see Latifa?
On Sunday, 17th of August, at Ramsey Court.
All right, thank you.
So why are you reporting Latifa missing?
I told my solicitor because I was let out of prison on parole on the 13th of August 1986, and I'm warned that her disappearing may be linked to me.
Until October, we thought she was in Morocco, but a friend, he come from Morocco.
He say, Latifa, she's not there.
I see. Can you give us a description of Latifa for the missing person report, please?
Yes. She's about 5'2", dark, curly, collar length hair. She has a big scar on her neck. She got earrings, golden earrings.
Is there anything else at all?
I can't remember.
After about 10 days, we'd really covered all the inquiries we could do without physically speaking to somebody. We'd got 5 houses where she had been connected, so I made the decision that we would on one day go to all those houses, arrest the occupants of those houses, all of whom had had some connection with her.
It was a gamble. There was only circumstantial evidence, and little of that. Even so, Brian Grove could see no other way of going forward. Other members of the family were almost immediately released, but the Lachals could now be held for 36 hours before police must charge them or take them before a court.
Since the 31st of August 1986, I've been engaged on inquiries concerning parts of a female body found in Ashdown Forest, East Grinstead. From my inquiries and from the forensic evidence, I'm satisfied that these human remains are those of Latifa Lazar. Can you tell me anything about this lady's disappearance?
The only thing I know that she told me that she's going to Morocco for a divorce.
From who?
From me.
When was the first time Cassim knew that Latifa was definitely going to Morocco?
On Friday.
Who told him?
She told him.
Latifa told him.
Yes, she told us.
When was that? At the dinner party?
After.
Who was there when Latifa said she was going to Morocco?
No one. Just me and Kazan. Everyone had gone.
Mark, how does this story from the interviews Mr. Winton's had with Kassem fit in with Fatima's story?
It's much the same. She says that on the Friday of that weekend, they had a dinner party at the address. Cassim was there, the children were there to start with. She says the first time that Latifa mentioned that she was going to Morocco was at that party, but conveniently, it's after everyone else has left. The children are in bed, everyone else has gone, Cassim is there, Fatima's there, and Latifa is allegedly there. Did Latifa say how long she was going for?
No.
The story given by Kassem and Fatima was that Latifa had returned to Morocco. Now, we also got this from neighbours who we spoke to, some had been told, in fact, that she'd returned to Morocco to go to a wedding. There was another story that she'd gone to Paris. Really, there were indications from them that she had left this country.
Good afternoon. PC Tompkinson from East Grinstead.
This detective traipsed round 50 travel agencies to see if anyone of Latifa's name or description had bought a ticket.
I'll just check them for you. No, I'm sorry, we don't hold a reservation under that name for them.
What was she going to do with her little boy?
She was going to take him with her. She never said to me, you look after him.
Do you know what flight she took to Morocco?
No.
Did you ever see any flight tickets at all?
She got to Crawley Saturday morning, but I never asked her what she doing.
Was that Saturday the 16th of August?
Yes, she went in the morning.
Latifa went to Crawley the following day to pick up the tickets. She doesn't know what flight she took, though. She doesn't know where she went for the tickets. I've asked her how she paid for the tickets, and conveniently, again, she hasn't got a chequebook. So she's left us no sort of redress to recheck and to find out how she's paid for these tickets, i.e. by cheque or credit card or anything like that. And it seems strange to me that she should tell them on the Friday night, and on the Saturday she's straight into Crawley to buy these tickets that no one's ever seen. Is there anything else that happened on that Saturday?
No. When she come back, she just take some clothes, then she go.
Where did she go? To her home address in Ramsey Court?
Yes.
You didn't go round there with her?
No.
Where was Cassim at the time?
My husband, he take some bag with some shoes. He took them with her and then he come back.
What time did Cassim go with Latifa to Ramsey Court?
About 6, 6:30.
Did he say anything about Latifa when he got back?
He said nothing, no.
Did you ask him about Latifa?
No, because she just left my place.
Did you ask how she was getting on with her packing?
No, I did not.
Am I right in suggesting that on Saturday the 16th of August you were all going to Littlehampton?
No, on Sunday it was. I want to hire a manta for a weekend.
What, a GT manta?
Yes.
Something like the white one over there?
That's okay, yeah.
Okay, for the weekend it's £45.
In the end, who went to Littlehampton?
We went to Brighton first, then we went to Littlehampton. I was with my wife Fatima, Latifa's child, and my little girl. Latifa was meant to come with us, but she had packing to do.
Was she packing intending to return to Morocco?
Yes.
Kassem, during interview, had said that that weekend, the 16th to the 18th of August, he had hired a car. This was to take the family for a drive, but also he had taken some rubbish which Latifa, he said, had asked him to the tip. Now, I was still looking for quite a lot of the body, so this interested me. I did look at the possibilities of digging the tip up, But at the end of the day, scientists told me this would really be an impossibility. We would have been looking back over 2 months, and the amount of rubbish and the amount of gases that would have been there really made the job impossible.
I went back, had a cup of tea. They were having tea also. I believe my wife asked Latifa to come with us. She said she was still packing. I did see a suitcase on the table. She asked my wife if we could take the little boy with us to give him a bath.
After the women had drunk tea, they returned to his own address, and they took her little boy with them, that's Latifa's little boy, to have a bath, and she stayed there doing some packing. He says there was a suitcase on the table. I mean, this is where it's a figment of his imagination. She was no more packing to return to Morocco at that stage. This is where the story deviates from the truth.
When I wake up on a Monday morning, I find the key in the book in the front door.
Do you mean the child benefit book?
Yeah.
What time did you notice these through your door?
Oh, 9 in the morning, something like that. I don't know the time. I don't usually wake up early when the kids are on holiday.
Why do you think they've been put through your door?
I don't know. She didn't tell me nothing before.
But you understand, as I understand it, that she'd flown to Morocco.
Yes. Because she phoned me on a Monday, sometime after lunch, from London Heathrow.
On the Monday, she said she got a phone call in the afternoon from Latifa. She said that Latifa was phoning from Heathrow, telling her that she was going to Morocco and asking her to look after the little boy and to sort arrangements out with the former husband.
In fact, there were no flights from Heathrow to Morocco on that Monday. But Fatima rang a friend to get a number for Latifa's first husband to persuade him to come and take away his son.
I have 5 kids. How can I look after him as well? Just give me the number, okay?
What did she say?
She said no. She don't know the phone number.
Qassem and Fatima's story of Latifa going back to Morocco and not taking her son with her just didn't really make sense. Friends told us that she was very attached to him. Although she'd left him on occasions with people, she really seems to have been quite a good mother. The time that she went was her birthday, and she didn't really say to any of her friends, some of whom are Moroccans, that she was going to return to Morocco.
What is known is that 2 days after Latifa was last seen, Qassam and his brother finally made contact with Latifa's first husband. The 2 men didn't like each other much, and the meeting was a tense one.
Have you found your sister? Why? But your son?
Why? What happened to him?
I want you to collect him.
Where is his mother?
She has gone abroad and left me.
What part of abroad?
She's gone to France.
When did she go to France?
Last Saturday.
Why did she go to France?
We had a big argument over money.
She has gone abroad. Believe me.
The child's father was very keen to have his son back, but suspicious of taking him without official custody. He insisted the social services should be involved.
Where is the child?
In my place.
Will you take him to the social worker and I'll contact my solicitor as soon as I can?
We don't want to get involved with social workers. You make the arrangements about your son, with us.
What has this got to do with you to make arrangements with me, huh?
Come with me to a solicitor when I will hand over the child and be a witness for you.
No, it's got nothing to do with you or any solicitor. I said, take him to a social worker.
But later that day, the child's father, having seen a social worker for advice, did come to collect his son. He also agreed to take back all the contents of Latifa's home. It was furniture they'd bought together when they'd been married. It was a council house, and Qassam told the housing office Latifa would not be coming back. But no sooner had new tenants been put in than the murder squad came round.
Well, sometime after the original offence, certain evidence came to light to suggest that this might be the house where the unfortunate lady met her end. And so we had sort of carte blanche instructions to go there and turn the place upside down, starting from the front door and working our way in and taking as long as necessary to find if there was anything worth finding.
At the time we went there, the house had been taken over by new occupiers, and we were met at the door by the new female occupant. And I asked her if there was anything strange in the house when she moved in, anything she noticed that was strange, and she came out with the classic comment, "Only the blood in the bathroom."
The new tenants had to be moved out as the scenes of crime officers moved in.
We were searching throughout the house for any minute traces of blood, and in order to do this we applied what we call a KM test. This is a field presumptive test that we can carry out at the scene. We apply alcohol, Castle-Mayer reagent and hydrogen peroxide to a suspect stain. If we get a pink positive reaction, then that's a good indication that we found blood.
Other officers went through the estate to question residents. Had anyone seen anything or heard anything unusual?
Hello there. We had door-to-door inquiries about Latifa Lazar. Do you know her at all?
Yes. I heard Latifa went to Morocco. And I asked why did she go to Morocco, and I've been told because she's going to a wedding. So I didn't take no notice until a couple of days later. I asked again, and I've been told she's gone to Morocco. But I heard that she left the boy, and I was very surprised when I heard she left her son behind.
Dr. David Northcott attended the scene and advised us on various items that he would like submitted to him for further examination.
And those included all sorts of things like lavatory seats, wash hand basins, even the floorboards.
In fact, we took the whole of the bathroom floor up in 6 sections and submitted that complete. Also, the original bath had been removed by the council in view of the fact that it was damaged. I believe it had a gash in it.
You put Latifa's body in the bath at Ramsey Court, didn't you?
No, sir.
That's why we found blood under the bath.
I have no idea about blood, sir.
After you cut the body up, you wrapped it in these blue curtains and the floral ones, which we know were in Ramsey Court, didn't you?
No, sir.
You and Fatima have made up a story to fit the facts, haven't you?
No, sir.
I suggest you've sat there for 2 days and told a tissue of lies.
I didn't tell lies, sir. I didn't.
You killed Latifa, didn't you?
No, sir. I didn't kill anybody. No, sir. No, I didn't.
Well, I put it to him that he put the body in the bath, which he just denied, and then I put it to him about the blood under the bath. First hint of emotion comes in here. I mean, he's calm and polite all the way through. He denies he has any knowledge of it, so then I showed him the curtains. And he started getting a bit het up then, and his voice raised, and we got the start of some tears. He still denied any knowledge of it, but we at least got some emotion out of him.
The police had found a slither of carpet at the shallow grave in the forest. This was about 1 inch by 1/8 of an inch in size. They sent us 3 similar-looking pieces from the bathroom of the house, which had been found under the skirting board. So the object of the exercise was to compare the single piece from the forest with the 3 that had been recovered from the house. This I did by taking the fibres off the pile and mounting them on a microscope slide, so that the 2 specimens taken from the 2 different sources could be seen at one and the same time and compared using a binocular eyepiece.
Here was the proof that the shred of carpet from the lay-by in Ashdown Forest was the same as specimens of carpet discovered in Latifa's bathroom.
This shows the floor of the bathroom of the house. The bath was there. The toilet was just here, the wash basin was there. And the police took from just here a small section of the flooring on which they had noticed blood staining. Once we've taken the blood off the item under examination on a piece of thread like this, that can then be used for a variety of tests, including one which establishes whether or not the blood is of human origin. And on this plate, the fact that a line has appeared here shows that the blood was of human origin. And the applicability of the test is confirmed by the fact that the two samples placed here and here gave negative reactions with animal blood. We can then go on to group the blood, and this test is one of a series which can be used to establish the blood group of the blood in question. And on this plate, the blood from the torso is in this track, and the blood from the bathroom is in this track. And you can see that they have given the same pattern, confirming that the blood from the torso could be from the same person as the blood in the bathroom. We compared the blood taken from the torso with samples taken from various members of the family, and by constructing a family tree and referring to the missing link, we were able to establish that the torso could have fitted into the family tree. And here, one of the panels of the bath, showing on the side a number of blood stains which have dripped down the panel, showing that they have been sprayed from an act of violence. This was one of a set of family photographs I was sent to examine. The lady in the picture is Latifa Lazar. She was known to be 5'3" high. We were able to measure the height of the room at the house, and from that work out the length of the curtains in the picture. We were able to compare the weave with the weave of the curtain found in the forest, and both were found to be made up of a series of very thin white vertical lines which were in the weave of the cloth. So we found then that the curtain which had been recovered from the forest was of exactly the same proportions as far as the hem was concerned as the curtain in this picture here. And this confirmed that the curtain in the forest was very probably the one which was shown in the photograph.
So the Crimewatch viewer who'd identified these as her own had been mistaken. Yet, quite by chance, she'd brought police to the murder victim's doorstep. Latifa also owned the other curtains her torso had been wrapped in. A friend recalled she'd chosen them from a mail order catalogue. So the curtains were now identified. The victim was known, and she'd been killed in her own house. But who had killed her? Neighbours remembered someone had been hanging washing in the garden on the weekend Latifa had disappeared. But it wasn't Latifa.
Cassim, did you kill Latifa?
No, sir. I wouldn't kill a mouse. God is my witness.
Are you sure you didn't have an argument that weekend and a terrible accident occurred?
No, sir.
"5 months after Latifa had been killed, Qassam was charged with murder. Some months later, in Morocco, Latifa's family met detectives sent from Sussex and handed them a letter. It came from Latifa and was dated after police assumed she'd died, but her brother was convinced it was a forgery. It yielded up 5 fingerprints, but none of them was Latifa's.
Mark 5 is Qassem's right thumb. Close to the mark is a fold along the paper. I made a photostat copy of the letter indicating the position and direction of the mark, and also a fold on the letter itself. I found it impossible to put my thumb in the right position and at the right angle to show more of the right-hand side of the print. When the paper is folded, it was quite possible to place the thumb at the right angle in the right direction. I was therefore of the opinion that this mark could only have been placed after the letter had been folded, or in fact while the letter was being folded.
Whilst in Morocco, the family mentioned that Qassem had been in touch with them to try and get any letters written by Latifa sent to him. Now, the story he gave to them was that they were to be given to the police. Well, I mean, we just wouldn't ask a suspect to get any letters. If we want to get them, we'll get them ourselves.
Then, 2 weeks before the trial, the final proof that Latifa was dead. This man was clearing a path after the October storms when he came across a human skull.
Inquiries were made by the police to see if the particular lady had had any X-ray pictures of her skull taken in hospital previously. And as a result of the police inquiries, a set of X-ray pictures were brought along to the department which showed the frontal sinuses of the known individual. The frontal sinus is an airspace in this part of the forehead of a person, and obviously it cannot be seen unless an X-ray picture is taken of it. I then had an X-ray picture taken of the skull, the unknown skull, shall we call it at the present moment, in which I presented the frontal sinuses, and a complete tracing was made of the frontal sinus of the individual. A number of these tracings are produced so that we can make comparisons from one to the other and then in reverse. And then, having had one of the best tracings made, we then can place it over the frontal sinus of the known person. In this way, we can say that we have a positive identification because 95% of the adult population have frontal sinuses which are characteristic of the individual.
At the time of the trial, we had a lot of circumstantial evidence against them. For example, with Qassem, there was his version as to when he last saw Latifa, when he last went to Ramsey Court. We had witnesses who were able to prove otherwise. There was the letter we brought back from Morocco. He wasn't able to account for his fingerprint being in that unusual position on the letter. There's also a witness who was able to talk about him womanizing and, in fact, using violence against her. With regard to Fatima, we had the evidence that she received the phone call, supposedly from Latifa on the Monday evening from Heathrow Airport, when in fact we know that by this time Latifa was dead. There's also, it's only her evidence that tells us that the family allowance book and the key were put through the front door. I think one should remember that with circumstantial evidence, it's not just one piece of evidence, it is a number of pieces of evidence which make up the case.
When I heard what did it happen for Latifa, I was very, very shocked. I couldn't sleep nights. I couldn't believe it is her. I don't know why it did happen. Could be lots of reasons. Could be because Latifa wanted to get rid of his wife, back to Morocco to stay with Qassem. Could be jealousy. And I think he was obsessed with her.